Good afternoon, everyone. Our group today is going to talk about Zhongxuegao's crisis in Chinese mainland happened in 2021. This is our content, and part 1, I will describe the crisis and discuss its impact. Zhong's crisis comes from the malicious addition by the media. Since edited version of the video sounds uncomfortable, it triggered a wide range of discussion and criticism. Worse still, Zhong's past skeletons in the closet were exposed again and further disseminated. In fact, 它就是那个价格，你爱要不要 is that the Japanese fruit producer said to the speaker instead of the speaker said to the public. On May 29, the talk show I Ask character Zhongxuegao's founder Lin Sheng was broadcast on China Education Network Television. BTV Finance channel replayed this interview. On June 12, 八哥专用, a V media celebrity on Weibo, stirred up the comment of the Zhongxuegao's founder saying. However, it didn't form large-scale attention. On June 15, Lanjing journalist reported the Zhongxuegao's comment on 成本就40爱要不要, which can be considered as the actual breaking point of the event to cause such crisis with rapid speed, questioning that is it IQ, tax, or great value for money? I Ask founder forwarded the explosive Weibo of Lanjing journalist on her personal account. At 2 p.m. next day, Lanjing journalist released 2 administrative penalties of Zhongxuegao 2 years ago for false advertising in detail. The crisis of Zhongxuegao still incrementally continued. However, the official media didn't make any positive response, so the public spread their opinions wantonly. At 3:25 p.m., Zhongxuegao Voice itself released the original video on his official Weibo and expressed the rumor. Actually, the former interview was maliciously spiced and misunderstood the public. The next day, Zhongxuegao released a letter in response to the 2-year-ago punishment and then released attorney's letter to Lanjing journalist for it infringed Zhongxuegao's reputation. In this event, Guangdong has paid the highest attention, followed by Jiangsu and Shanghai. The social mood of the incident is mainly negative, accounting for nearly 60%. Neutral emotion accounted for 24%, while the positive mood is relatively low. Many people on Weibo said Zhongxuegao is too expensive and prefer other ice cream, like Menglong. Some people think other foreign brand like Häagen-Dazs also expensive, and why not of the domestic ice cream? Some may say Zhongxuegao used most of the money for marketing and promotion so that the price is high. Next, Ken will introduce the critique and key message.
Okay, the first thing we need to know is the base of this statement is correct. I mean, you can see that only the first paragraph is about the event of 爱要不要, while the rest part is all about the previous false advertising. Because we have mentioned that after all, the 爱要不要 is not really their mistake, just a frame up. But what's very contradictory is that they still apologized for their so-called improper expression, which diminished their strengths. And when we check their stance of this statement, we can find some common factors applied in apologies. Like they admit the mistake and guarantee correct actions, like being stricter on the raw materials quality, normalize the expression in their promotion, and so on. And we can even find a good point they insist on, which we think easily make a mistake. That is, they insist on their high price and high quality instead of reducing price, because high-end ice cream is just their selling point. We should not be given up. And now let's focus on items that did not act well. The first is the reacting time. This statement was launched 2 days after the malicious videos launched and went hot on internet. It took too long time that some people even thought that all of this was schemed by Zhongxuegao themselves to increase their exposure. The next problem is on their wording of copywriting. In the post, of this statement, Zhongxuegao used some equivocal and ambiguous words like 错可以改但抹不去, which is so weird and can be easily understood in other ways. Besides, we can see some of the other copywriting is in a lively and cute style. We think it's so ridiculous to appear in an apology statement. The last point is, after the heat of this event faded, they deleted the lawyer's letter to the company which launched that malicious video. So now you cannot find anything about the lawyer's letter on their official account. And this influences the strength of the self-protection of their right. Their reputation did not get enough recover finally. So let's enter the next part.
See from this timeline and Zhongxuegao's response from the perspective of crisis response strategies, although it was denial posture facing its most controversial crisis in terms of price, Zhongxuegao did not explain the whole thing clearly at the first time to take the initiative of information. In the crisis response phase, the form and the content of the response was not official enough, and the response attitude was not professional and powerful to contain and control to minimize damage. They have really reduced the perceived seriousness of the crisis. On the 17th, on Weibo, where the spread of information is fast and immediate, the total number of the two hot topics on this issue have 1 billion reads. It also can be seen from this keyword graph that netizens were more concerned about the high price and 66 yuan than the false propaganda. The distribution of topics among netizens show that the crisis has been a chain reaction from the moral high ground occupied by Zhongxuegao due to malicious editing turning into the extended crisis that customers to ridicule the whole brand as expensive and excessive marketing. According to the chaos theory, this further deteriorated, causing the stakeholders to become angry, affecting the whole organizational reputation. Although Zhongxuegao directly admitted the mistake and said that they would correct it, however, on the whole, Zhongxuegao was not sufficiently prepared in terms of enterprise risk management, and its public relation awareness was shallow, which was directly reflected in its lack of promptness and accuracy. When the crisis occurred, firstly, there was a lack of communication with media, so that the malicious video edited by the third party was widely spreaded, and neither Zhongxuegao nor the interviewing media clarified it at the first time. Secondly, the lack of more efficient communication with customers. When the crisis is integrity-based, an apology can intensify negative feelings, so blank apology may be more likely to cause customers' anger. Thirdly, there is also a lack of authoritative certification. When the apology is made in 2021 for the penalty imposed in 2018 and 2019 for false publicity, there is still no concrete evidence to prove that rationality of raw materials and the prices. Finally, after the crisis, Zhongxuegao has done little to recover and rebuild credibility. Therefore, in the whole crisis public relations system of Zhongxuegao, there are still many loopholes. Now let's Vicky introduce the recommendations.
Thank you, Sunny. Next, I will give Zhongxuegao some recommendations based on the 5S principle. The first one is shoulder the matter. Regardless of the specific party at fault, Zhongxuegao should take an initiative to take responsibility, apologize, and comfort all the victims, including the stakeholders. And next is the concept of sincerity. We suggest that the text of any response issued by the Zhongxuegao official needs to be in a sincere tone to apologize and make a solemn apology for the previous issues about the brand's false propaganda, not to use too joking words and phrases in any wording expression, and demonstrate the professionalism and authority of PR team. At the same time, the company should respond positively to the controversial issue about the overpriced, do not shift the focus, and do not emphasize the enough of the company. Moreover, we suggest that Zhongxuegao can actively participate in social welfare activities to reflect the brand's corporate social responsibility and the brand temperature to the public. Next is the concept of speed. The official response to the controversial video should be issued within 4 hours of crisis, apologizing to consumers and providing clear corrective actions. explained that the controversial video was maliciously edited by media team and provide direct evidence of malicious editing to prove that the problem itself was not a misstatement by the CEO of Zhongxuegao, but a malicious distortion by the media to gain popularity, and asks the media to come forward to clarify and release the original unedited version of the video. And next is the concept of system. We suggest that Zhongxuegao can cultivate a professional crisis management team which can actively respond when encountering similar crises again to avoid the over-fermentation of negative public opinion, as well as unclear and inappropriate expressions of statement text. Communicate clearly with the media before the company's top executives are interviewed, and clarify interview questions in advance and rehearsal with the CEO to reduce the possibility of crisis. Establish a crisis warning mechanism to avoid the media to raise sensitive topics or questions to companies' executives. And the last one is the concept of standard. We suggest that Zhongxuegao can cooperate with the official third-party inspection agency like Quality Supervision Office, Price Administration, and issue the authoritative certifications of the price quality of the relevant products. And here is the new timeline that we give to Zhongxuegao based on our price recommendations. Next, I will pass to Stephen to talk about the recommendation.
Let's talk about our recommendation on the aftermath to rebuild confidence and image for the company. Based on our study, we noticed that Zhongxuegao didn't place a good post-crisis strategy, leading to a previous crisis back in the public view again. Accordingly, we propose our suggestions to assist the company. As the Chinese saying goes, no pain, no gain. According to Kum's study in 2015, he said that learning from the previous crisis is an effective way to be well prepared for the future crisis. For the post-crisis task, there are 4 steps consisting of CMP evaluation, crisis impact evaluation, crisis documentation, crisis team handling. For the CMP, we have to collect data from crisis records, stakeholders' feedback, organizational performance measures, internet comments, and media coverage. For the crisis impact, we can assess organizational related objectives, financial performance, word of mouth, and comments on social media. Besides, a well-organized recording of CMP can be used effectively for the future crisis. The crisis team should continue their follow-up investigations until at least 2 weeks after the crisis is over and set up 3 groups in different functions. For the Zhongxuegao, crisis has reoccurred since the quality rumor happened in 2018. We will recommend the company to clear up the rest pieces of crisis. We need Zhongxuegao to conduct an acceptance and accommodative strategy to deal with the crisis. The main problem for Zhongxuegao is their stakeholders complaining the weak quality of the products, followed by a strong resistant emotion of purchasing. Therefore, Zhongxuegao should take a full apology and announce some preferential policies to their stakeholders. Meanwhile, keep up with the follow-up investigation by taking corrective action. According to Cornelison's study, during the crisis, the practitioners should pay more attention to their stakeholders' concern physically and psychologically. We consider that corporate public-spirited campaign is suitable for Zhongxuegao. The company not only pursue economic purposes, but also show good care to the community through charitable campaigns. For the complaint of high price, we don't want Zhongxuegao to adjust the price strategy, but cooperation with charitable organizations is recommended. For example, Zhongxuegao can share benefits with stakeholders through eco-friendly strategies. Lastly, each coin has 2 sides. Crisis can be an alarm clock and a great chance to turn adversity into a positive side. The GSK in face of PPA crisis set up a great example for Zhongxuegao to learn. First, Zhongxuegao has to do a self-recognition, like PR strategy and daily operation, to improve the function of these core departments for the crisis. Second, enhance positive image through CSR advertising and new product release. Third, catch the heat to turn accumulated exposure into great reputation, like being transparent in crisis handling, showing video of how the product line works on social media. Lastly, switch the public attention to the new topic by the company, like holding a series of CSR campaigns while communicating proactively on social media with our stakeholders. Here is what we suggest for Zhongxuegao, and thank you for your listening.